Confused. I'm Mona from 108 Marketizer, and we have Julian from Leaf Logic today with us.
Hello.
Hi Julian.
Hi, Mona.
We've talked about the concept of modern marketing. We've talked about how professional firms struggle and how they can change their mindset from print to media. And in this episode today, we look at how we help our clients to get to that stage of marketing. Now, Julian, there's so many different definitions of marketing out there in the world. And I think you'll agree that there's kind of an assumption that people understand what marketers or communication consultants do in terms of the work that they do. So, really, what are your thoughts on this in terms of how we help our clients to get to that stage of understanding?
Yes, and I think one of the most difficult things is people assume it's all about a product at the end. Just turning up and knocking out a video or doing some print. That's not the case. The time I spend with my clients predominantly is, first off, what is the story? What is the narrative? So I always ask first, what are you trying to communicate and to whom? Because if we don't understand what it is we're trying to get across, and I find there's normally, after a bit of conversation, you find out that it may be different from what they originally thought of as an approach, because they're no experts at communicating, but where they thought they were starting, their starting point is slightly different to what they're actually trying to achieve. So for example, one of the key things, when I worked in the past with the National Trust back in the UK, they were doing a leaflet on one of the architects who was involved in a property, who happens to be a guy called Robert Adam. And because they were so close and understood so well the historical background, they produced this publicity which basically said, and Robert Adam did this, Robert Adam did that, Robert Adam, Robert Adam, Robert Adam on this property, Robert Adam. And I said, that's fantastic. Who is Robert Adam? And until you'd actually thought of and explained what was the background to this man, who was he? And you only needed a paragraph or two to talk about who he was and what his impact was to actually make a much bigger impact with the story as a whole, because you suddenly understood, here's the narrative. This man who went on to have such massive influence globally with his architecture started here. This is the point where it began. Suddenly, it became, the significance of the site was far more important when you realized the global impact of this person. What the client had done was made an assumption that everyone would know. And that is where sometimes what one has to do is look at the story and help the client interpret the story. So when I'm sitting down with a client, I'll say, well, do you think your target audience understands this? What does this actually mean? What does that actually mean? And the other important factor is to get, most people are passionate about what they're doing. And I view that as my, the best thing is if I can find what they're passionate about and draw that out, it makes their story far, far more believable, because it is the truth. It is what they believe in. They fundamentally do think this is the right thing to do. So it's very important.
So it's really about educating the clients, isn't it? About like their own business goals and kind of existing in this modern world of this social media 24/7 today.
You're absolutely right.
I think that's so important for them also to understand their core messages. And where I've seen is with my clients, it's not only understanding the core messages, but then helping them how to shape it and how to say it out there. That is also really important. And setting up that strong foundation, most of these brands have either existed for quite some time in the world, but then they are at that stage where I think our involvement kind of helps them to cultivate that, bring those messages to a platform of being relevant, where you said, I really like that discussion when we have with our clients is where we sit down and kind of understand the target audience, because that is one aspect that nobody's paid too much attention to. You know who you're providing the services for, but then what does that mean to those people who are using your services? Do they understand exactly? So we educate our clients about marketing and where their brand is. And in a way, we help our clients educate their target audience about the work that they do. So you can see this ripple effect kind of that's going on. And it really helps uh, for the entire, and not only this is just the outward facing communication, marketing or communication that happens, but also a major part of my work is actually helping the entire team understand this newly shaped marketing foundation.
Oh, you
Because when
have
we get
to.
in there with, yeah, when you get in there with social media, it's these individuals who actually make these teams and shape the brand. So it's the individual who has that passion, who understands what the skills they have. And I think that's where I've seen that their digital profiles, especially on LinkedIn or web, they're never reflecting their depth of knowledge that they bring to their day-to-day work or their clients. And and it's the people who matter. So I find it very interesting to see that I get maximum results when I'm actually helping an individual who's part of a team to change their mindset. And
Yes.
suddenly they're seeing their work in this value-based ecosystem where they're like, oh, this is how we're shaping the outcomes.
Yes, and they see how they fit, and they
Mm,
see how they fit in the narrative and what they're
yeah,
doing within that whole brand, and how it works. I
yeah.
think it's a fundamental, really, understanding of what we do. Is you look at the, a lot of people look at the outputs, and I often see where somebody's gone and they've got a video or they've got documentation or they've got something, and there's no heart to it. There's no
Mm,
actual story to it. There's no depth to it because it is literally, you can go out, you can ask somebody to make you a video, and they will, and they'll be very good. And it's not about the technical expertise or their ability with a camera or their ability to design a document.
mm,
That's not the problem. But what they haven't focused on is the content and what is it for and
mm,
why, and that's where the message can be lost. It's
mm,
and the brand message is so important in when you look at some of the big brands. Take BMW. They've established their entire brand, which is now synonymous with their name, about technology, reliability, and performance. Now
mm,
that's just what they put out there over successive years, and have made that a fundamental part of their brand. So successfully, they have promoted the same messages repeatedly, and they try and put that experience into what you feel when you walk into one of their showrooms, whether it's for a service or whether it's, they understand that this is a holistic feeling. It's not
mm,
just, here's a brochure that says we're wonderful. You actually have to do it. You have to walk the
mm,
walk as well as talk the talk, which is
mm,
why, again, focusing on the message for the clients is so
mm.
important, because you get to that point of this. So this is actually, it's asking the question, so this is actually what you fundamentally believe in. Yes, it is. Right. Okay.
And, and I completely agree with that approach. It's not just that one marketing campaign in and out, because that's, you just don't get any time to do anything in that one campaign
No.
or that one project. Because what I've found really helpful with clients is when their teams are able to internalize this marketing approach, where our involvement is kind of help them ask open-ended questions, where they're looking at
Yeah.
things in a deeper way, and that, until that process, and for me, the real interesting part is when that process becomes real and it starts to come naturally to how they work. It's like you see the momentum build up in these teams and our clients when they start to understand the whole thing better, and they're like, okay, and then you're kind of seeing how that collaboration happens, where they're actually shaping their own brand and marketing in a more
Yeah.
tangible way, where it's all coming to life.
And absolutely. And I think the other thing is actually understanding and considering, once you've understood their message and who they're aiming it at and who the target audience is, you can understand better how to direct the message to them and what medium to
Mm,
use. I've actually talked myself out of doing videos for people, not out of any wish not to have the work, but because it wasn't right. It wasn't the right
mm,
medium to use. It wasn't the right thing to do for where they were in their path.
mm,
And maybe somebody else got the work up afterwards. I don't know. But the point was, they actually when I left, they had a better understanding of what they were trying to do. And generally, in the long run, they came back because they realized, yes, actually, what he said was right. This is where we are in the path. And even when they've gone and done a video, they've realized that actually we spent the money and it didn't do what we actually wanted it to do. So it actually, getting that narrative, getting that understanding of the story, I believe is fundamental as the first step in whatever you're going to do. And then you can use that narrative to help in other areas. So I know the way we work together, Mona, is I will do a video, and then from that, you will get information to produce documentation from it. So how do you take that? Here's some information, Mona. What do you do next? How do you look at it?
So for me, it all starts really. My focus is making sure that I'm part of the client's team or their environment with minimal disruption to their day-to-day activities. So the approach is exactly the same. It's being part of that narrative. So once that video or that initial story and brand foundation has been built, as soon as that video comes content. The maximum. The most difficult part today businesses and professional firms face is finding content. It's there, but shaping it and finding it there. So with the video, as soon as there's content, that content can then be reused and repurposed in different formats, be it the visual story, be it the core message, be it the digital profiles or their website, and the outcome of that video and that narrative and that visual story is suddenly people can see that narrative unfolding with everyone who comes in contact with the brand, be it on social media or otherwise. They can actually start to see the story. Because why? Because my main focus is making things easy to understand. And that's where this alignment comes and the brand goes. If that alignment's not there between the message and the narrative and the brand and the story, it's really hard to communicate. So
Absolutely.
the visual story is shaped, be it videos or be it infographics or PDFs or whatever that's been created. That inward or outward facing communication is shaped to be part of that narrative, and that's when real marketing starts to happen.
You see, the fascinating thing with this, looking at history, Mona, is you go back in time and you look at the cave paintings in southern France. What are they but infographics telling a story to a bunch of people round a fire in a cave? That is basically what we are as animals. And when you look at it, it's the shaman or whatever making a narrative, making a story that would engage people, that would communicate the best way to do something. That is fundamentally, that was the earliest dawn of marketing.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, really we get involved with our clients in terms of shaping their business goals. So that's where you translate your vision and mission to be valuable and relevant. And then when we get involved as LeafLogic and 108 Marketizer, we help you shape that external brand reputation. And then we don't only stop at that, we help you build those strategic goals then that are more relevant for your marketing channel. Each brand is unique, each team is unique. So our approach is also unique based on the requirements of our clients. So we look and work with them so that they can make the best out of their investment. And in the third, I think in the operational level, when we get on, we actually not only help you strategize and shape your business goals, we actually convert them into these tasks of developing your content so that what you say matches what you do and and not only matches what you do, it also your clients understand. It's based on the requirements of your clients who understand this is the service, this is the part of the story that we want to be involved in, this is how we understand what the story is of our clients. And also a word of warning, all of this takes time, discipline and commitment from a business point of view. So it's not just something that happens instantly, but you're part of this community where your target audience is also involved in kind of growing and shaping your brand. So you can see it in a nutshell. It all happens in this nice ecosystem, which grows slowly on its own organically rather than just set of messages that are said, which are said, put out and not understood. So that's how we help our clients to get on with the things, with all things marketing, brand, and communication. So that's all we've got time for today. Tune in to the next episode of Confused, and we will take you through all things marketing, growth, and future. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you. See ya.